The supreme deception, the Foundation headquarters pulsed with the controlled chaos of final preparations. Ariana stood at a central command console, surrounded by holographic displays showing real-time feeds from across the unified sovereign alliance. Technicians monitored communication channels, security systems, and the vital signs of operatives embedded throughout the regime's infrastructure. "The neural suppressors are ready for distribution," reported a young woman with the focused intensity of someone who had trained for years for this moment. "Once activated, they'll shield our people from the loyalty enforcement scanners for approximately 16 hours. "The quantum disruption protocols?" Vance asked, her eyes never leaving the central display where a countdown timer showed 13 hours 42 minutes and 17 seconds remaining until the anniversary celebration's commencement. "Primed and synchronized," confirmed an older man whose artificial hands manipulated virtual controls with impossible precision. "The regime's quantum encryption will fail precisely as the Supreme Patriot's AI begins its anniversary address." Ariana absorbed the scale of the operation with growing awe. For decades, she had worked in isolation, believing herself to be one of a handful of resistors preserving forbidden knowledge. Now she stood at the heart of an organization that had infiltrated every level of the authoritarian state, patiently preparing for this moment. "What about my students?" she asked. "The ones who received the data nodes." Vance nodded to a nearby technician, who brought up a new display showing 6 young faces, her chosen students, including Elias Morgan-Wooded. "They're safe," Vance assured her. "And they've done exactly what we hoped. 5 of them accessed the historical data and shared it with trusted friends. The 6th, Elias, did something unexpected. He uploaded the entire archive to his family's private data store." "That's incredibly dangerous," Ariana said, alarmed. "If it's detected, it was detected," Vance interrupted. "By exactly who we hoped would find it." She gestured, and the display shifted to show a man in his 40s with the insignia of a senior information ministry official. "Meet Citizen 08-327B9, formerly known as Thomas Morgan, Elias's father." Ariana studied the man's face, noting the family resemblance to her student. "I was told he was a low-level clerk." "A necessary cover. In reality, Thomas is our highest-placed operative in the information ministry, Deputy Director of Network Security. When Elias carelessly placed the data in their family storage, Thomas recognized it immediately for what it was. And he didn't report it." "On the contrary," Vance smiled. "He reported a completely fabricated security breach to his superiors, redirecting their attention away from his son while simultaneously gaining access to higher security protocols, access we'll need for tomorrow's operation." Ariana shook her head in amazement. "The layers of deception, you've been planning this for years." "Generations," Vance corrected. "The Foundation was established during the first purges, when it became clear that the Lupmut regime intended to rewrite history completely. Your grandmother was among the founders." A technician approached with a neural interface crown, a more advanced version of the monitoring implant citizens were forced to wear, but modified to block external signals rather than transmit thoughts. "Dr. Chen," the technician said, "we need to calibrate this to your specific brainwave patterns. It will protect you during the operation." As the device was fitted to her head, Rihanna noticed a large central chamber beyond the command center, accessible through heavy security doors. Inside, a massive quantum computer core pulsed with blue-white energy. "What is that?" she asked, pointing toward the chamber. Vance followed her gaze, hesitating before answering. "That's the heart of our operation, and the reason we've waited 50 years to strike. It's called Oracle. A competing AI system." "Not exactly," Vance said, her voice lowering. "It's a quantum consciousness recovery system. We've been using it to reconstruct something the regime tried to destroy, the collective memory of democratic governance." Before Ariana could ask further questions, an alarm sounded throughout the complex. A technician called out from a monitoring station, "Security breach at Surface Access Point 3. Loyalty enforcement detected." "How?" Vance demanded, moving swiftly to the security console. Unknown, but they are using high-level access codes. They are bypassing our countermeasures. Vance turned to Ariana, her expression grim. We need to accelerate the timeline. If they reach the central chamber before we're ready, everything is lost. She activated a facility-wide communication system. Attention all personnel, Operation Restoration has been compromised. Initiate Emergency Protocol Lazarus. I repeat, initiate Emergency Protocol Lazarus. Throughout the complex, operatives responded with practiced efficiency, securing data terminals, activating defensive systems, and preparing evacuation protocols. What can I do? Ariana asked, determined to contribute. Come with me, Vance said, leading her toward the central chamber. You're the missing piece we've been waiting for. As they approached the heavily secured doors, Vance placed her palm on a scanner, her eyes fixed on Ariana. What I'm about to show you will challenge everything you understand about the Resistance and about yourself. The door slid open, revealing the quantum core in its full glory, a swirling mass of light and data, suspended in a crystalline structure that occupied the center of the room. Around it stood 7 pedestals, each supporting what appeared to be a neural interface chair. The founding council created this system as insurance against the complete erasure of democratic principles, Vance explained as they entered. 7 individuals volunteered to have their consciousness patterns recorded and preserved, 7 people who embodied the ideals the regime sought to destroy. Ariana approached one of the pedestals, noting the nameplate at its base, Julia Chen, constitutional scholar and resistance leader. Her grandmother. These aren't just records of their thoughts, Vance continued. They are complete neural patterns, memories, knowledge, personalities. For 50 years, we've maintained these patterns in a quantum state, neither alive nor dead, preserving the wisdom we would need when the time came to rebuild. Why show me this now? Ariana asked, though a part of her already suspected the answer. Because you're not just Julia Chen's granddaughter, Rihanna. You're her genetic twin, created from preserved genetic material after her capture and raised by Foundation agents embedded in the regime's educational system. You were designed to be compatible with her neural pattern. The revelation struck Ariana like a physical blow. I'm a clone. Not exactly. You're your own person, you've lived your own life, made your own choices. But your genetic structure was specifically designed to be receptive to your grandmother's consciousness pattern. You're the key to reactivating the founding council, to bringing together the wisdom of the past with the determination of the present. From behind them came the sound of distant explosions, the Loyalty Enforcement Directorate breaching the outer defenses. We're out of time, Vance said urgently. The plan was to prepare you more gradually, but we no longer have that luxury. Will you accept the neural linkage? Will you allow your grandmother's consciousness to merge with your own? Ariana stared at the neural interface chair, her mind racing. Everything she had believed about herself, her past, her identity, even her choice to become a historian, had been part of an elaborate plan set in motion before her birth. What happens to me? She asked. To who I am now? You won't be erased, Vance assured her. The quantum linkage creates a synthesis, a new consciousness that combines both neural patterns. You'll retain your memories, your sense of self, but you'll gain her knowledge, her experiences. You'll become something more than either of you could be alone. Another explosion, closer this time. Warning lights flashed throughout the chamber. Surface levels breached, announced the facility AI. Estimated time to central chamber penetration, 4 minutes. Ariana took a deep breath, approaching her grandmother's interface chair. Will it hurt? I don't know, Vance admitted. No one has ever attempted a full neural synthesis before. The theory is sound, but I'm the first test subject, Brianna finished. You're the culmination of 50 years of planning, Vance corrected. Your grandmother knew the risks when she preserved her consciousness pattern. She believed the cause was worth any sacrifice. Ariana sat in the neural interface chair, feeling it adjust to her body. Mechanical arms descended from above, positioning a complex crown of sensors around her head. What about the others? She asked, indicating the 6 empty chairs. Foundation members who've spent their lives preparing for this moment. They'll join you if the synthesis succeeds. The facility's AI voice interrupted. Loyalty Enforcement Directorate units approaching Central Corridor. Defensive countermeasures engaged. Estimated delay, 3 minutes. We need to begin, Vance said, activating the synthesis system. Focus on your memories of democracy, of freedom. Those connections will serve as bridges between your consciousness and hers. The neural crown hummed to life, sending pulses of energy through Ariana's body. The quantum core brightened, tendrils of light extending toward her, enveloping her in a cocoon of energy. Remember who you are, were Vance's last words before the world dissolved into pure information. Ariana felt herself expanding, consciousness stretching beyond the boundaries of her physical form. Memories that weren't hers flooded her mind: childhood in a world without monitoring implants, university lectures on constitutional law, clandestine meetings in the early days of the resistance. Then came the pain, not physical but existential, the agony of two separate identities struggling to integrate. She witnessed her grandmother's capture through her own eyes, felt the fear and defiance as neural extractors prepared to erase her mind. But there was something else, a secret Julia Chen had taken to her grave, a truth so carefully guarded that not even the Foundation knew it existed. The true identity of Dan Lupmot's successor. As the neural patterns merged, Ariana, Julia accessed memories sealed away for decades, memories of a contingency plan within a contingency plan. The Foundation wasn't just preserving history, it was preserving leadership. The 7 consciousness patterns weren't just meant to advise a new government, they were meant to become it. And the greatest deception of all, Counselor Vance wasn't just the daughter of Hike Vance. She was the daughter of Julia Chen as well, a child conceived and hidden before Julia's capture, placed within the very heart of the regime through a manipulation so audacious it had never been suspected. Ariana gasped as the final connections formed, her grandmother's consciousness fully integrating with her own. She was Ariana Chen and Julia Chen simultaneously, 2 generations of resistance united in one mind. Her eyes opened to chaos. Loyalty enforcement officers had breached the central chamber. Defensive systems had activated, creating a shimmering barrier between the attackers and the quantum core. Vance stood at the control console, desperately trying to complete the synthesis process. "Stop what you're doing immediately," commanded a figure in the distinctive black uniform of the Thought Compliance Division's highest rank. "This facility is now under the control of the Supreme Patriot." Ariana rose from the neural interface chair, her movements fluid and assured, the combined grace of a historian and a constitutional lawyer. "The Supreme Patriot is dead," she said, her voice carrying the authority of absolute certainty. "He has been dead for 30 years. What remains is a simulation, and an increasingly unstable one." The commander raised his weapon. "Sedition? You will be terminated." "I think not," Ariana replied. With Julia's knowledge, she approached the quantum core's control interface, entering a series of commands that neither Ariana nor Julia could have known individually, but that their combined consciousness understood perfectly. The quantum core pulsed, sending a wave of energy throughout the facility. The loyalty enforcement officers froze in place, their neural implants suddenly disconnected from the central control system. "What have you done?" Vance asked, staring at Ariana with a mixture of wonder and apprehension. "I've activated the quantum override protocol," Julia explained. "A backdoor your mother, built into the original neural implant system. The enforcement officers can no longer receive commands from the central authority." Vance's eyes widened. "Mother? But that's impossible. My mother was Julia Chen," Brianna confirmed. "You were conceived just before her capture and placed with Hike Vance's family through an operative within the Genetic Assignment Bureau. You were the ultimate sleeper agent, raised by the architect of the surveillance state, positioned to eventually undermine it from within." Vance staggered backward, her world depended by this revelation. "Why wasn't I told?" "For your own protection. Even Julia's consciousness pattern was programmed to withhold this information until the moment of synthesis." The facility AI interrupted, quantum override successfully deployed. Neural monitoring systems citywide have been disabled. Anniversary celebrations begin in 37 minutes. Ariana turned to the stunned loyalty enforcement officers. You have a choice to make. The regime you serve is built on lies. In half an hour, every citizen in the Alliance will learn the truth. You can stand with us as we restore genuine freedom, or you can cling to the comfortable chains of oppression. The commander hesitated, then slowly lowered his weapon. The implants, they've been in our heads for years. Without the control signals, you're experiencing your own thoughts, unfiltered, for the first time, Rihanna explained. That sense of disorientation will pass. What matters is what you choose to do with your freedom. As the enforcement officers conferred among themselves, Vance approached Ariana. The synthesis, did it work as intended? Better than intended, Brianna replied. I have full access to Julia's memories, her knowledge. But I'm still myself. She smiled. And apparently, I'm your aunt, in a manner of speaking. If what you say is true, Vance said, still processing the revelation, then our plan requires adjustment. We weren't just creating a rebellion, we were preparing for governance. Yes. The 7 consciousness patterns, when fully activated, form a transitional council with the knowledge and experience to rebuild democratic institutions. Ariana gestured to the remaining neural interface gears. Summon the other genetic counterparts. It's time to awaken the council. As the Foundation operatives rushed to prepare for the remaining syntheses, Ariana accessed the facility's communication systems and sent a message to Elias Morgan Woodard. Tell him to meet us at the broadcast center beneath the National Mall. When the Supreme Patriot's AI begins to glitch during the anniversary address, you'll be the one to interrupt the broadcast with the truth. Why Elias? Vance asked. Julia smiled, accessing a memory that explained everything. Because he's the great-grandson of the last legitimately elected president of the United States, the one Lupmut overthrew. The symbolism will be powerful. As the countdown to the anniversary celebration continued, Brianna felt a strange sense of peace, the combined wisdom of 2 generations allowing her to see beyond the immediate crisis to the challenging work of rebuilding that would follow. Democracy had died slowly, eroded by 1,000 compromises. It would need to be rebuilt with the same patience, one renewed institution at a time. But first, they needed to reveal the truth to a population that had been living under lies for 50 years. And that revelation would begin in exactly 36 minutes, when the Supreme Patriot's artificial intelligence attempted to address the nation, unaware that its reign of deception was about to end.